Hello, I'm Bliznub, and welcome back to Building the Best. Today we're going to be looking at the Phantasma, because it's new and shiny, I guess? I don't know. Like, when I first looked at this weapon, honestly, I did not like it. Because the selling point of this weapon seems to be that its secondary fire launches a large explosive bomb which you can charge up to deal more damage, and given how much ammunition you put into it when you charge it, it will then fire off an appropriate amount of what DE calls bomblets, which will seek nearby enemies, hit them with an impact and elemental hit, and then explode. And as of recording this, they do not explode. They explode if they reach the end of their range, but they do not explode when they hit something, and they don't track unless something's inside their range, so they don't explode. No, everything is not in Ordis. God damn it. So, that said, and I hope that is fixed soon, this weapon was a bit of a disappointment for me at first until I realised, honestly, the secondary fire is the least of this weapon. Like, the primary fire on this weapon is far, far more valuable, because it is a flamethrower. We cannot treat this weapon like a shotgun. It doesn't behave like one, because it fires a single beam. It doesn't have innate multi-shot, can't do those fun little status proc things. It doesn't have the crit that the vast majority of shotguns have. Seriously, Lotus, shut up. And so basically we want to be treating it like a flamethrower, which is to say, we want to be looking at how many procs we can inflict over a short period of time. So I came up with this, which is a bit, I guess maybe obvious, but honestly it works, and that's just what this weapon needs. So again, it's a bit of a mix mash like a lot of my builds. We've got Prime Point Blank and Hell's Chamber for damage and multi-shot, and multi-shot does behave exactly how you think it would when it comes to the bomblets, although again, never ever rely on the bomblets to do anything. We have Toxic Barrage, Shell Shock, and Blaze. Blaze is just a bit more damage, I like throwing that on there. But Toxic Barrage and Shell Shock give us corrosive damage, which then gives us corrosive radiation, which is one of the most effective damage combinations in the entire game. I've shoved Charged Shell on here to try and get corrosive into a solid majority of the damage types this weapon will inflict, because basically when I'm spraying a target down, you know, fire rate of 12, that's 12 times an 81% chance to proc. Then multi-shot, well, sorry, that's after multi-shot, I lie. Basically, this thing is spraying people down with corrosive procs. It will melt armor like you would not believe. It's going to be getting radiation and heat procs pretty instantly as well, and impact procs for all that's worth. The heat procs will cause the enemy to stagger as they do the, oh god, I'm on fire animation. The radiation proc, obviously useful. And, like I say, the corrosive proc, we obviously want a majority on, because it's going to absolutely melt through enemies. The other thing I did consider, but found to be a little lackluster, was swapping out Shell Shock here for Scattering Inferno, and getting radiation gas. And whilst, yes, you would get an insane amount of gas procs, and to be fair, the bomblets would effectively spread gas procs everywhere, they'd be doing about 2 damage a second each. Like, they're just really, really low damage. So I've gone for this so that this weapon is effectively a ridiculously powerful armor stripper. But anyhow, shotgun ammo mutation is on here because, well, you'll see, this weapon tears through ammunition at a rate you would not believe. Fatal acceleration is on because the bomb, not the bomblets thankfully, but the bomb you can fire has self-damage and has about the radius of a Tonkor explosion, so you can tonk yourself with this weapon. You absolutely want fatal acceleration. You want to be jumping up in the air and shooting this thing a distance away from yourself, and you definitely want to have a bit of a flatter, bit of a faster trajectory so that it can get further away from yourself and you can more accurately aim it. Because with how I've set this build up, you want to be alternating between primary and secondary fire constantly. Primary fire is for melting hard. You know what? Let me just demonstrate this thing. Like, what? Hold up. No. No. Let me just demonstrate this thing, because honestly, it's gonna be difficult to explain. I know, I'm not using the simulacrum, I'm sorry, but we're going for this because it has augmented enemy armor, and this really shows off the ability for these corrosive procs to come in insanely useful and make this weapon just fantastic. But basically, the primary fire is for melting hard targets. The secondary fire, because it has AoE, its DPS can never be can never be more than the primary fire unless you're hitting more than one target. Let me just demonstrate. So, like, if I melt these guys, they're gonna die pretty quick. That cost me 11 rounds of ammunition. It would cost me about the same to do the same thing with a grenade. But with a grenade, I could theoretically catch, I don't know, 20 people in the explosion. And so you will get a much higher DPS off of the secondary fire, but on a single target, the primary fire actually has slightly better DPS, even though the secondary fire has higher actual damage statistics. It doesn't seem to work that way because the primary fire triggers procs more often. So let me see if I can find... There we go. Hard target here, and your armor's gone, and you have to reload, and you're dead. This thing thankfully has a 0.5 second reload, so really not a concern when you have to stop to reload. But yeah, so I do tend to run around using the primary fire because it's more satisfying, and it has quite a lot of range on it, honestly. I really quite like it. But the secondary fire is what you want to be using the vast majority of the time. Like, if you just tap it, expending 1 or 2 ammo, you're probably not going to kill most things. But on a defense or a survival when there's going to be crowds, charge this thing up to about halfway and unleash it. Yes, you're only getting half of the potential bomb damage, but you want to be doing that so that you can conserve just a little bit of ammunition. Even with shotgun ammo mutation maxed out, I find myself tearing through this thing's ammo pool, which is the primary reason why I recommend it. But yeah, suffice it to say, this thing will shred enemies' armor, which theoretically means it has no upper limit on what level of enemy it can deal with, because if we're talking about Grenier, it's just not going to struggle. Like, heat corrosive will rip through Grenier. There's absolutely no problem with it. Yeah, it may struggle a bit with Corpus infested. Just please. One moment. It's odd. Why aren't you dying? I'm sorry, we appear to be having some technical difficulties. Let me just redeem that. No. No. Why is your armor not being stripped? It's really weird. Oh, whatever. So yeah, basically what you want to be doing is going around half charging this thing and firing it off people, because you get much, much better ammo efficiency using it that way. I forgot this was a rescue. Excuse me one moment. Just... Whoop. Hey, there we go. I really should have picked an exterminate or something. Oh, can I put... Oh, I probably could have told the simulacron to give them enhanced armor, couldn't I? Is that a thing now? I feel like that's a thing now. Oh well. There we go. I'm really hoping to get a crowd, so hopefully when I come out of here there'll be one, because kinda need one to demonstrate what I'm talking about. I mean, this'll do. So basically, yeah, hard targets, like, for goodness sake, this thing with its insane amounts of base armor, you will melt through with a few bursts. But when you get something like this, just drop a full charge in there. It'll kill everything. The bomblets will then fly off and do a reasonable amount of damage. But like I say, never ever rely on the bomblets to get the job done. They might kill a handful of maggots, but honestly, that's all you can expect them to do. But anyhow, I think that's all I have to say about the Phantasma. Like I say, if you build it for corrosive damage, it may take a little longer to chew through a higher level enemy, but it's really not going to struggle long term. As always with these kinds of builds, do experiment. Like, I like the corrosive heat because of how it behaves, but do experiment. If you find that radiation viral is more your cup of tea, absolutely go for that. And I suppose if you don't really care for the status procs, just drop another former into this thing, swap these two out for 90% element mods, and this thing will be doing about 3,000 damage. Right now it's doing about 2,000 on both the primary and secondary. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Trying to keep my videos a bit shorter. Trying and failing. Anyhow, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. As always, please like and comment below and subscribe if you want to see more. I'm Bliznub, and this is the Phantasma.